they're taking when they're talking about niching down on their content and that sort of thing. So today we're going to be talking about some of the things that a lot of content creators are doing that you could possibly be doing that are working against you when it comes to growing your YouTube channel. So before we get into this, I just want to say a quick thanks to TubeBuddy for having me on the channel today. And I want to say thanks to Rob and to Andrew for holding it down in the moderation and for, hanging out here in the live stream today as well. Thanks, fellas. So basically, when it comes to growing a YouTube channel, you hear all the stuff about, the things that you have to do to get views, and you hear all the stuff about the things that you have to do in order to make sure that you're following YouTube best practices and things like that. But some things that people don't seem to talk about a lot, and I think this is causing people to do this in the wrong way. One of the things is sharing your content. So a lot of people, especially when they're just getting started on YouTube, let's just call it what it is. They're desperate to get views because they haven't figured out how to get views on the channel yet. And that might even be why you're watching this live stream right now, because you're thinking to yourself like, hey man, I'm just trying to get this ball rolling here, and I don't even know what I'm doing. So I'm just trying to, figure this all out. So one of the things that happen is YouTube content creators will hop on places like Facebook, they'll hop on places like Reddit, and they'll start sharing their content in all of these communities where YouTubers are. And the downside about that is when you're sharing your content in places that it's just a bunch of YouTubers there, the downside is you're doing these clever things to where you're like, hey, give me feedback, give me a review on my video, let me know what you think about this video, watch it and let me know what you think, I can do to improve. And a lot of people are using this as a way to, get some views, because maybe those people will come in and they'll watch the video and they'll enjoy that video. And because of that, they will subscribe, and then I'll have another subscriber, and they're kind of taking that approach with things. However, you're completely working against yourself in this situation, because what is happening is you are putting your content in front of people that are not a good fit for your content. They don't care about the content that you have on your YouTube channel. They're not organically interested in what it is that you are doing. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you have a channel where you are doing gaming content. And let's say that you are talking about a specific type of game. Let's say that you're talking about Fortnite or Call of Duty. Well, either one. So Fortnite or Call of Duty. So what you do is you go onto YouTube, or not YouTube, but you go onto Reddit, or you go onto Facebook, and you're into some of those like YouTuber Facebook groups or those YouTuber subreddits, and you are basically telling people, hey, go and check out my video. Well, what's happening is those people are leaving that platform, they're coming and checking on your video, and then they're going to give you some tips on it and things like that. But the part you're not thinking about is that those people, they might be watching that video for the duration of the video. And when that happens, so that they can give you some tips, right? They're trying to help you out, so they're not doing anything wrong, right? So what's happening is they're watching your videos for a duration of the video, which is a positive indicator for YouTube that type of viewer likes your type of content. So here's where everything breaks and falls apart, is if you have a bunch of people from Reddit doing that, then you have all these different people coming in and watching your videos, but those people aren't who you're actually trying to reach. So then when you go and you publish another video, because you're like, hey, I've had these people coming in, hey, I've even gained some subscribers from it, and I'm going to stay with my upload schedule, and I'm going to keep publishing videos. Well, what happens is you publish that next video, and now YouTube is showing that next video to a bunch of people that aren't interested in that type of content. So right out of the gate, you are hurting your click-through rate. Now, let's say that some of those people remember you, and they're like, oh yeah, hey, remember I looked at this dude on Reddit, let me see what this video is like. And they click on it, then they're watching it, but because they're not going to actually go and give you a review and stuff like that, they click on it and they go and they watch that video. Well, guess what's going to happen then? Your retention is going to tank on that video from that particular viewer, or a bunch of those viewers if you're doing this at scale, and that's going to cause your video and your channel to just have a downward spiral, because you're putting it in front of all of the wrong people who don't actually care about your content. So because of that, it's important to understand that putting your content in front of the wrong audiences can really drive down your click-through rate and your audience retention, which then is stunting your growth on YouTube because you're not getting in front of the right people, okay? So when you're first starting out, this is especially important. And unfortunately, this is when people do this the most, right? When you're first getting started. So it's really important to make sure that you're paying attention to those sorts of things and that you're ruthless about where you are sharing your content, because every single person that comes in, especially when you're just getting started and you don't have a lot of those views going yet, when you are first getting started and you have those people coming in, those people and how they're reacting to your content is what YouTube systems are registering as, okay, this type of person is responding to this content in this way. So let's show it to, let's show another video to them. And then when that happens, then it works against you because they're not responding to what it is that you're doing. So just be extremely mindful of that, because this is kind of an epidemic of sorts where you see tons of people doing this sort of thing on, Reddit and Facebook, and there's entire groups built around that sort of activity and sub for sub activity and that kind of stuff. You don't want to participate in any of it. It's better. And this is really important. It's better to get a lower amount of views for the right type of viewers than it is to get a lot of views with the wrong type of viewers, because it's going to dictate what's going to happen with your YouTube channel in the near future. Okay. So because of that, it's really important to make sure that you're being ruthless. Like I mentioned a second ago, to make sure that you're being ruthless where you're deciding to share your content. Now, if somebody else shares your content in those places, there's nothing you can do about it. But in terms of you and the actions that you're putting into your YouTube channel, make sure that you're just keeping those sorts of things in mind, because you don't want to be working against yourself, right? So make sure that you're being mindful about that. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about, and really quick, for anybody answering questions or asking questions, I should say, here in the chat, I just want to let you know that we are going to be doing a Q&A portion of this as well. There's a link down in the description to a form where you can actually put your question. And once I get through the content of the stream here, then I'm going to hop over there and answer your question specifically. It's a first come, first serve basis. So make sure that you get your question in there. And don't say like, hey, check out my channel, because we won't have time for that. But if you have a question about what it is that you're doing on YouTube, make sure that you put it in that form down below. Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about is the idea of niching. Another thing that I've noticed recently is that a lot of people will make sure that you put your question, Nomad L, down in the form down below. But make sure that you when you're thinking of niching, it's important to make sure that you're not thinking of niching as just the actual content type by itself. Because one of the things that people will complain about is they'll complain about, hey, I don't want to just do one niche because I'm interested in like other things, and I don't want to just always make like that one video, a bunch of times. So what you want to think about when you're thinking of niching is niching down isn't about, I'm just making one type of content. Niching down is about I'm making content for a certain type of viewer. That's what it is. So just because you're niching down on your content, or that you're, making a certain type of content, that doesn't mean that you can't, spread out and make different types of content within your content strategy, because what you need to think about is that you are making content that is for a particular type of viewer. And the better you get at that, and the better you get at understanding your audience and the people that are actually coming in and watching your videos and what they want from you and things like that, the better you get at that, the more creative you're able to be, because that opens you up to be able to make, content that's a little bit different, but it's still in alignment with the content that people are wanting from your YouTube channel, or that they're interested in, I should say. And they get a little bit of a diversity from you, and then you get to scratch, your creative itch by, not constantly making the same exact thing all the time. So just think of niching, instead of thinking of it of a limiting thing that is kind of pigeonholing you into a, like one piece of content. Think of it as niching it just means that I need to make sure that every single video that I upload is a good fit for a particular type of viewer that's coming into my YouTube channel. Super important. And just this by itself will help you out in terms of the content that you're making. It'll help your viewers out by making sure that you are giving them content that they enjoy and that they actually subscribe to your channel for. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is when it comes to niching, a really valuable part of taking your entire YouTube channel and making your entire YouTube channel a good fit for a particular type of viewer is this. If I subscribe to your YouTube channel today from a video that you published last year, and you're making content on your YouTube channel, and all of the videos on your YouTube channel are for a specific type of viewer, if I subscribe to your YouTube channel, or I watch some of your videos that you published a year ago, well, if that just happened today and you publish a video tomorrow, because I've interacted with your content recently and I've enjoyed it and YouTube detects that I enjoyed it, the new videos that you publish, YouTube is going to try to put those videos in front of me, or they're going to put those videos in front of me because I've proven to their system that I enjoy your content. So what happens when you focus on the audience is that it doesn't matter if you have content that's driving viewers to your channel from a year ago or 2 years ago. It doesn't matter if you have, people that are coming in today and they get served your past content library. Like, it doesn't matter where people come in, whatever it is that YouTube shows to them, they are going to be more likely to respond to it because it's content that they are interested in, which is going to keep those people coming back to your channel, which is going to get more views for you. It's going to get more watch time. If they came in and ad revenue, if they came in and they watched videos, but they didn't subscribe because, maybe they just didn't think to, or because they were involved in your content or engaged in your content. Maybe they didn't think to subscribe to your YouTube channel and they watched 2 or 3 of your videos and they enjoyed them. And then they just moved on because they're a viewer, not a YouTuber. So they're not thinking subscribe all the time. So because of that, YouTube shows that content to them again, and that content's a good fit, and they come in, you just happen to mention in that video, reminding them to subscribe, and they're like, oh, that's right, I didn't subscribe to this channel. I watched this channel from this person, or this video from this person, really enjoyed it. A few videos. I'm so glad that I got reintroduced to this content again because now I have the opportunity to subscribe, right? So it's super important to make sure that you look at your channel, all the content that you're putting out, and think of it as, is this a good fit for a certain type of viewer? The entire channel, every video on the channel, is it a good fit for a certain type of viewer? If the answer is yes, then you're heading in the right direction. If the answer is no, then I would definitely start doing some work so that you can, better planning, that sort of thing, in order to make that happen for you. Now, on that note, it's also important when you are planning your content that you think about the likelihood of somebody watching another video next. So on that same idea of, I just watched one of your videos yesterday, and then you published a video today, you also want to make sure that you're kind of stringing your content together and that you're, at the very least, like we were just talking about, making sure that it's a good fit for the people that just watched your latest video, because, or any video on your channel, because that same exact thing happens to where the higher the likelihood that those people are going to be interested in that new video because they watched your old video, right? They're interested in that topic or those topics that you talk about. The higher the likelihood of you matching that, the higher the likelihood of them actually clicking on that video and coming in and enjoying the video and getting you more views, ad money, and all that other stuff that you want from being a YouTube content creator. Okay, so super important to make sure that you're keeping those types of things in mind. And by doing that, you also want to think about when you are putting the content out, you do want to notice what it is that people are enjoying versus what it is that they're not enjoying the most. So you can double down on what it is that they're enjoying, or you can make more of what it is that they're enjoying and less of what it is that they're not enjoying. Okay. Now, the next thing that I have on my list here is it's also really important to accept where you are on YouTube so that you can move on from there, right? So accept where you're at on YouTube so that you can move on from there. So as a content creator, it's really easy to get caught up in all the stuff about, watching other content creators or content creators that have these huge channels or that just have, really good, skills because they came from, like a film background or an art background or whatever it happens to be. But, watching these other content creators that are putting out really good content and looking at yours and being like, oh man, this just isn't even like, I can't even play in the same field as these people, right? But in reality, you can, but it's important to make sure that you just identify where you're at. Most of the content creators that you see on YouTube that you compare yourself against, most of them have some type of experience to where they've either been doing YouTube for a long period of time or they brought skills with them onto YouTube that kind of gave them an edge. So because of that, it's important that if you're a new content creator and you're trying to grow your YouTube channel and you don't want to blow it, that you are really protective of what is happening in your mind when you are looking at these other channels and you're comparing yourself to them. Because what's going to happen if you don't protect your mind in that situation is you're going to cause yourself to quit because you're going to be like, you know what, they have these awesome videos and I can't even compete with this. But one of the factors that you're not bringing into the equation is that they have, 100 videos on their channel. They have, 200, 300 videos on their YouTube channel where you've got 8 videos on your YouTube channel, right? So because of that, it's really important to make sure that you're just, you identify where you're at and you embrace it and you accept it because that's where you actually grow from. So if you don't have, the gear that you want and your videos aren't as good as you want and you're not as good on camera as you want and, you're not as good at writing titles and making thumbnails as you want because you just haven't gotten that far yet in the process, just identify it. Be like, okay, if I'm not good at making thumbnails yet, then I got to keep cranking out videos. Even when I'm not publishing videos, I'm going to try to make thumbnails. I'm going to open up my Photoshop or whatever it is that you use to make thumbnails, and I'm going to just make thumbnails. I'm just going to make random thumbnails about random topics, better if they're topics that I talk about, but I'm just going to start making a bunch of thumbnails so that I can start honing my craft on how to actually put a thumbnail together, right? And that can be graphically, it can be taking images or screenshots from videos that you already have, using TubeBuddy to actually, say, okay, this is my thumbnail here, and I think I could do better. So because of that, I'm going to go into my video and I'm going to start looking at screenshots and things like that. And I'm going to, start taking some screenshots out of the video or maybe some other photos that I have. And I'm going to start working on my thumbnails and trying to make better thumbnails, because with that, especially with TubeBuddy's A/B testing feature, you have that advantage to where you don't have to upload videos to make more thumbnails and to put out more thumbnails, right? You just do that through the testing process. So that's a huge advantage when it comes to accelerating your growth at that skill, right? So because of that, it's really important to make sure that you are practicing, and that part of that practice is just, again, acknowledging where you're at in the process and saying, okay, I'm here, and in order to get to the next level, I need to make sure that I'm building on top of what it is that I'm doing here, and that I'm embracing this growth process so that I can get to that point to where, all of my stuff looks and sounds like all of the other content creators that I am inspired by. Okay. So really, really important. So another thing that is a really important part of all of this stuff, if you are a content creator, is learning how to use your stats at least at a very basic level. So here's the thing. You don't have to be a stats nerd, okay? You don't have to be a stats nerd. You don't have to be somebody that goes in there and spends a bunch of time just trying to figure stuff out because you're just interested in seeing, what all the different stuff means. Like, you don't have to be that person. It's fine. You're creative, you're a content creator, you're a creative person. Maybe you just want to spend all your time in the editing bay instead of, spending it in your stats. But if you want to really accelerate what's happening on your YouTube channel, it's important to make sure that you are spending some time in your analytics. It's kind of like a side part of the job, right? That you need to go in there and make sure that you're spending some time in there so that you can get an understanding of what's happening on your channel, and so that you can make adjustments. Because just because you're making, and I'm sure you've experienced this, just because you're making a good video and you are putting that good video out, and to your taste, it's a good video and it might be a fantastic video, just because you make that video and you put it out doesn't mean that people are going to respond to it in the way that you want. In an ideal situation, they would, but in a lot of cases, they don't. And because of that, each individual video that you're putting out onto YouTube, it leaves a clue. It leaves a bunch of clues. And those clues are identified in your click-through rate through all the different traffic sources. Your clues are identified in your audience retention report, in how people are responding to your videos. And what you need to make sure that you're doing is that you're going in and that you are putting your detective hat on, and that you're actually going in there and you're uncovering those clues that people leave you in your audience retention reports. For example, you need to look at your Pitsean. You need to make sure that you are looking at the click-through rate that you're getting on your video. You need to make sure that you're in your audience retention. You're looking at things like, how's your intro impacting your video? How is your call to action impacting your video? How are you ending your videos? Where are people leaving at the end of your video, and why do you think they're leaving there? How are the graphics that you're adding impacting? How are the music choices that you're making impacting the content based on the people that YouTube is showing your content to, right? When you first open your video, that very first part where you're just first grabbing everybody's attention, what's going on there? If you're seeing a big drop, and let's say you start your videos with you on camera, just like this, right? You start your videos there. Well, what you might want to do in that situation, if you had this huge drop, is experiment, right? Go in and say, okay, well, if I'm getting this huge drop when my videos first start, well, what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to just experiment and see if I can modify that at all. See if I can get people to respond differently. So what I'm going to do in that situation is I'm going to go in and my next video, I'm going to start it with B-roll on the screen with me talking underneath the B-roll. We're going to see how people respond to that. If they respond better, then you're going to repeat that a handful of times to see if that's what you're going to need to do to hold people's attention at the beginning. And then you'll quickly find out if that's a yes or a no. Other things are, when my video first starts, do I have music in my video when it first starts? If so, is that music a good fit for the people that YouTube is showing my content to? If the answer is yes, then you would notice it in your audience retention compared to the answer is no. Maybe it's too loud, maybe it's too low, right? You got to look at all of those things, because those are going to dictate how people are responding to your content, okay? But what you want to do is you want to get a notebook, and you can do this in a spreadsheet. You can do it with a notepad on your computer or in your phone, but or you can just scribble it out the old fashioned way. But what you want to do is you want to get a note of some kind, and you want to start writing down all of the things that you notice in your audience retention. And one thing that you're going to start uncovering over time is that, this is interesting. Every time that I talk for a long period of time without showing something on the screen, people leave. Or when I show stuff on the screen for too long without showing me, people leave, right? Because every channel is different. Every audience is different. So you're going to notice all of these different things based on your content and the people that YouTube is showing your content to. Okay. Really important. The next thing that's really important is that you need to make sure that when you are writing titles for your videos, that you are thinking of people that are not familiar with you and they're not familiar with your content. They've never been introduced to you before. And you have to think about why they would care to click on your particular video. So let's say, for example, that you're one of those channels that make a video about, my trip to the mall. And I love using that reference because I see it, my trip somewhere, or, we did this type of thing. But you want to think about, if you're making a video about my trip to the mall, you need to think about why somebody should care about your trip to the mall. Now, that the reason they should care might be reflected in your thumbnail. Now, if you have like a off the charts thumbnail in that situation, and there's like something, that would make somebody care about how you're packaging that up with your title and thumbnail, if that thumbnail is something to where it's like, oh yeah, people definitely, this is interesting. And then it's like, this happened at, when I went to the mall, then sure, that's a better package than I went to the mall and then it's just like you and your family, hanging out at the mall. Because when you're first getting started with all this stuff, you don't have that audience yet, those people that are interacting with what it is that you're doing. So when they see you in the thumbnails and they see titles like, this happened at the mall, the impact isn't really there, right? There's no reason that those people would care. Whereas if you take somebody like Casey Neistat and he does that, and it's Casey Neistat and his family, and he has this happen when we went to the mall, tons of people are going to click, tens or hundreds of thousands of people are going to click on that video just because they see him or his family members that they can identify because they watch the content all the time. They're going to be able to identify those people in the thumbnail, and then they're going to care because of that, right? So with whatever type of content it is that you make, you want to make sure that, one, you're looking at the title and thumbnail and how they work together to create like an experience for the viewer. And you also want to think about, or to create interest for the viewer. And you also want to think about why they would care enough about your title and thumbnail compared to every other title and thumbnail that they're seeing on the page or in their mobile feed. You want to think about why the viewer would care about what it is that's happening on yours. And it's super important to make sure that you're defining these things. And the reason that it's important to make sure that you're defining these things is because if you can't identify why somebody should care that doesn't know you, that doesn't know anything about you or your channel, if you can't identify it from the outside, pretend that you don't know what is in your video. I actually have a video coming up about this, but pretend that you don't know what's in your actual video content, right? You are only looking at your video from the outside. You can only see your thumbnail and your title, and you have no clue of what's happening in the actual video, okay? So that you're removing that bias. So what you want to do is you want to look at this and you want to say, okay, with this thumbnail and title, why would somebody care enough to click on this particular video? And if you can't define that, if you can't say, okay, this is the thing, this is why somebody would care to click on this, then you shouldn't publish that video until you can define it. Because if you can't define it, then other people aren't going to be able to define it either, right? So you have to be able to define what it is about that content from the outside that would make somebody want to actually click on it, okay? So like, you have to make sure that you're doing that. Because again, if you can't identify it, then other people aren't naturally going to be able to identify it. Another thing too, just to kind of backtrack, because something I missed here from my notes, is when you are in your stats, another thing that you want to make sure that you're paying attention to, in addition to just your audience retention, is you also want to make sure that you're looking at your click-through rate in the right way. So one thing that I often see shared all over social media, in my comments on my YouTube channel, it's probably happening right here, right now in the TubeBuddy channel, it's probably even happened in the chat a couple times, is you'll see people saying things like, hey, I got a really high click-through rate, but I'm not getting many views. So you need to make sure that you're looking at your click-through rate with the right point of view. So basically, when you're looking at your click-through rate, if you're looking at it in that funnel on YouTube, what you want to look at is you don't really want to look at that. That's giving you like a general idea, but it's averaging everything out. So what you actually want to do is you actually want to click into your traffic sources, and you want to see what your click-through rate is for those particular traffic sources. And in addition to that, you want to see what your impressions are next to those particular traffic sources where you're getting that click-through rate. For example, you might look and see that you have, like a 10 or 13% click-through rate, but if you have 52 impressions, it's not that big of a deal, right? Now, if you have like a 10 to 13% click-through rate and you have 500,000 or 2 million impressions, well, now we're getting into some good numbers, right? Because then what's happening is you're able to maintain that click-through rate even though a lot of people are being presented your video. So that means that a lot of people are clicking into that video, which is driving a lot of views to that video. But again, if you don't have a lot of impressions, then a high click-through rate doesn't really mean a lot. I mean, it means that you're on the right path, but unfortunately, it's getting driven down the more and more impressions that you get. And because of that, if you don't have a lot of impressions to work off of, then that click-through rate isn't, it doesn't really mean a lot, really. So because of that, it's really important to make sure that you are being mindful of where that click-through rate is coming from and what specific sources that click-through rate is coming from, as well as your average view duration, right? When you're looking at your average view duration, it's really important as well to make sure that you are looking at your average view duration through the lens of what traffic sources am I getting the highest average view duration from? Why do I think that is, right? So another approach to this is, let's say that you're one of those people that are targeting search with your videos. Well, in that case, you need to find a baseline for your videos in terms of, well, typically on my channel, ballpark, because you can estimate this stuff. Typically on my channel, I get X amount of impressions in search, and I'm able to maintain an audience retention of about yay on a quality video. And I'm also able to maintain a click-through rate of about yay or XYZ on a video, right? With these many impressions on it. So you start noticing that across, a nice handful of videos, and that gives you a baseline to where you can establish like a quality video or not. And the idea with this is you need to make sure that you are looking at the ones that are quality videos and that you have those as like, okay, these are my baseline. And then all the ones that fall underneath that, you have to start analyzing. You have to say, okay, why did this fall underneath it? Is it the topic? Could have been. Is it the timing? Could have been. Maybe it's just bad timing when you put the video out. Maybe you put the video out right when there was some huge thing happening on the news, and that took the attention from pretty much everybody. And because of that, it caused the video to perform poorly, right? So you got to look at things like that as well. But if you are going to make adjustments to that video, the ones that are performing under your baseline, then in that situation, that's where you would use like your A/B testing tool inside of TubeBuddy, to where you can go in and say, okay, for whatever reason, maybe it was timing, maybe it was the topic, but this video didn't perform well. Typically, my click-through rate is a lot higher when I talk about these particular subjects. So because of that, or when I make content on these particular topics, so because of that, if this falls under the baseline, I need to go in and I need to run some tests through my TubeBuddy account, and I need to make sure that that it's not just the actual thumbnail itself that's working against me in this situation and causing this video not to perform well, okay? So really important to make sure that you're in there looking at your stats for that kind of stuff as well. Also make sure if you are somebody that is like more advanced when you're doing this sort of thing, and you are targeting like a very specific type of viewer, like let's say that you have content where it is like male targeted content, like you're just trying to get guys to watch your stuff or women to watch your stuff. In that situation, also make sure at the channel level and at the per video level that you're digging into your gender information. Same thing with the age groups. So you can make sure that, hey, these are the videos that I make that are nailing my target. These are the videos that I make that are not, they're not getting in front of the right people. So because of that, I need to shift what it is that I'm doing and focus more on the content that is getting in front of the right people. So if you're more advanced, let's say that you're a marketer and you're trying to drive sales or something like that, then that's where you would definitely want to keep that sort of thing in mind as well. Same with the age groups and all of that. Also, you want to always make sure that you're paying attention to your top performing content. And the reason that you want to pay attention to your top performing content is because let's say over the last 28 days, that you have 3 videos on your YouTube channel that are just rocking, right? They're not better than any of the other videos on your channel. That doesn't mean, millions of views. In your case, it could mean, that all 3 of these have gotten 100 views. Or it could mean that all 3 of these have gotten 1,000 views or 10,000 views or whatever your, benchmark is. But you need to pay attention to the video that's performing well on your channel now. And YouTube shows you that at a glance inside of your analytics. But the reason you need to pay attention to that is because that tells you, like, that's just showing you right there, this is the content that's pulling people into my channel right now. So if we go up and we revisit the idea that I was talking about earlier on making sure that the people that are, coming into your channel now are the most likely to click on those videos that you're going to be publishing today or tomorrow, then in that situation, when you're looking at that top performing content, that's going to be your spoiler, right? On, hey, this is the stuff that's working. This is what's bringing the most people into my channel right now. So the next video that I make, it needs to be somewhat related to what's going on, to these top videos, so that I'm increasing the likelihood of YouTube, 1, showing it to the people that have watched these videos, and 2, when it does show my new video to the people that watch these other top performing videos on the channel, the likelihood of them clicking on it because it's of interest to them and it would make sense for them to watch it because they watch these other videos, then I'm increasing the chances of them clicking the video and enjoying the content because it's topically something that they've already proven to be interested in because they've been driven to your channel. Like, those are the people that are the most active on your channel at that point in time, topically. So because of that, following up with similar content that is topically related is super important. And you can also do fun things with that. And this one's going a little bit off of the mistakes path, but hey, it's how we roll. But another thing that you can do in that situation is some of those videos that are, performing well, you can put them into playlists so that they're driving traffic to each other. You update your end screens, that sort of thing, so that they're driving traffic to each other if they're topically related. Same thing with that new content that you're putting out. You can add it to the end screen of some of those videos. You could add it to a pinned comment, as long as the thing that's causing those videos to perform isn't people clicking onto the end screens or into a pinned comment into, additional videos or playlists. So keep that in mind. Now, another thing that is important to make sure that you are not screwing up when you are trying to grow your YouTube channel is it's really important to make sure that when you are putting content out onto your channel, that you're thinking of the entire your YouTube channel as also kind of like a website. Okay. So basically, I see tons of content creators all the time missing out on tons of traffic opportunities or view opportunities because you go to their channel page, right? You watch one video, you click on their username, like, wow, this is really good. I wonder what else they got. And you click and you watch, or you click to go to their YouTube channel so you can watch more. And then you only have like 5 videos on the channel page that you can watch. They just have an uploads playlist because they're lazy and they didn't put, the rest of it on there. They just have an uploads or not just lazy, but maybe they just didn't know. And because of that, they just have the uploads playlist there and nothing else. So another thing that you need to make sure that you're doing is looking at your YouTube channel like a web page on your phone, on your computer, maybe even on your TV, so that you can make sure that, hey, I have content on my channel page broken down into playlists that would make sense for a particular subset of my viewers. So when people are coming into my YouTube channel, if they're digging this type of content and people are, like these videos that I made over here, I put all these videos together about this particular thing, or this type of content or this format of content. Well, I'm going to put that into a playlist so that the people that care about that type of content, like let's say my vlogs, then I'm going to put my vlogs into a playlist so that the people that care about those can find them. I'm going to put my, tips about travel. If you have a travel channel, I'm going to put my tips about travel because I have my travel vlogs. Now I have my travel tips. So I'm going to put my travel tips into another playlist so that the people that care about the travel tips, so that they can find the content that they care about. If they're not into the vlogs, really, they just want the tips. And then, you would just keep breaking that down further based on the particular type of content that you have. But on your channel page, you can put 10 different sections there. So that's 10 different playlists that you can use if you decide to keep it as playlist to drive people into additional content on your YouTube channel. So make sure that in addition to your uploads playlist, that you also have your content broken down into subsets, into playlists, and you put those playlists on your channel page based on the interests that your viewers have. So it makes it easy for them to find the content that they care about when they click on your channel page. Now, of course, you might be thinking, okay, yeah, well, a lot of people just click on the videos tab and I got it there. I'm not even going to worry about it, right? Well, I can tell you this, a lot of people do click on the videos tab, but a lot more people actually just click on the channel page first because they have to click on the channel page first in order to get to the videos tab. So because of that, Some people will just scroll down, and you need to make sure that you're optimizing everything it is that you're doing on YouTube for people however they decide to use YouTube, because everybody doesn't use YouTube in the same way. Like I'm a channel page looker. As an example, my brother D, he is a video page looker. Okay. So because of that, just in that example right there, there's two different people, and we use YouTube in two different ways when we are looking at a channel page. So me, I like to see how they have content organized, because in that case, I don't have to go digging for what it is that I want to watch. For him, he just wants to go see all the stuff that they made so that he can see, all of the options that he has for that particular channel. So you need to make sure that you're optimizing everything that you're doing in a way to where it doesn't matter how somebody uses YouTube, whatever their preference is, you still win, and they still win because they can find the content that they care about the most, the easiest. Okay. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is that it's really important as a content creator to make sure that you avoid thinking that you're doing like all of the things. So one of the things that I get, and a lot of the people that make content like me, a lot of the times we'll get responses in our comments or in live streams. People have probably even said it here, but we'll get responses where people will say things like, "I'm doing all of the things you talk about, but I'm not getting any results." So what will happen in those situations is sometimes, because I every single time I click, it's never been wrong, or it's never been different. Every single time I click, what's happening is I click on the channel and I go and I look and I see what it is that they're doing. And right out of the gate, I can see they're not even doing like hardly any of the stuff that everybody tells people to do. Maybe they've applied one or two of the things, but they're not doing all of the things, right? So because of that, it's important as a content creator. If you want to grow your YouTube channel, if you want to move forward, it's also really important to make sure that you are always open, that you never think, "Oh, hey, I've got it figured out." Because YouTube's always changing. Audiences are always, changing in terms of just how we as humans, how we, consume content and that sort of thing. So because of that, it's really important to make sure that you never think, "Oh, I've got it all. I've got it cracked." Because as soon as you do, what you're doing is you're putting a cap on your growth. You're putting a cap on your ability to learn more. You're putting a cap on your potential when it comes to like really swelling up your YouTube channel, because you're assuming that, "Oh, okay, I've got this figured out, no problem." And as soon as you do that, then you're basically limiting yourself. You're cutting yourself down to where you're not going to give yourself the permission or the opportunity. That's what I'm looking for. You're not going to give yourself the opportunity to really make serious advancements, because you're not going to take the time to continue learning, because you are going to think that you already know, all the stuff that you need to know about YouTube. And I can tell you this: every content creator, every YouTube coach, every YouTube consultant, everybody that is doing anything on YouTube, nobody always has it figured out all the time. Nobody has every exact aspect of YouTube figured out. A lot of people have like all of the, main stuff figured out. However, with the changes that are always happening, it's like you got it figured out, and it's like, oh, now we need to make some adjustments. Bam, now we got to make some adjustments. Now we got to make adjustments. So because of that, it's really important to make sure that you're always open to, okay, you know what? I've got more to learn. I've got more to learn. Maybe it's not even about YouTube. Maybe it's about your camera that you're using. Maybe it's about the audio that you're using. Like I've been digging in Adobe Premiere, and I've been messing around in Adobe Premiere so that I can learn different aspects of Adobe Premiere, because in my brain, I'm like, you know what? Vegas is better because I learned on Vegas, but it's not better because I learned on it. It's better in my brain because I'm faster at it. But maybe in Adobe Premiere, if I'm trying to whip something together real quick, maybe I can do it better there, but I'm being biased by saying, "Oh, well, I'm doing it over here." So because of that, I've been digging into Adobe Premiere as well, so that I can, learn more about Adobe Premiere, because it might be way better, but I'm just not giving it the chance, right? So because of that, I've been digging into that a lot, and I'm actually getting decent at Adobe Premiere just because, I've opened up. So because of that, it's really important to make sure that you're constantly like, okay, you know what? If I use Photoshop and I'm like sold on Photoshop, maybe I should look into also Affinity Photo. If there's something about Photoshop that I think could be better or that I'm just not quite getting, maybe I should look at Affinity Photo, because they might have like a quicker way to do it or a more efficient way to do it. If I'm in this editor and I'm kind of like at the limit with this editor, and I'm like, you know what, hey, the videos are good enough, so on and so forth. Just by moving to another video editor, you might be able to make your videos like 1,000 times better in terms of how they look, how they sound, and things like that, based on what's already built into that particular piece of video editing software. So it might not, like the thing might not be just YouTube based. It could be the production side of things. It can also be how you actually communicate with viewers, how you communicate with the camera, your skills as a content creator of actually recording content and putting content together in a way that people respond to. Okay. So next thing I want to say, and then we're going to get into the course, because I've actually went 10 minutes over the thing here because I like to do about 30 minutes of Q&A. But one thing that I do want to say is that I have a course coming out. I'm actually going into beta here either this weekend or next week. And with that, as soon as that beta is up, then we're going to open it to the public. So I have a course coming out. If you go to my website, nicknimmin.com, at the very top, there's going to be a little thing of text, a little navigation button that says YouTube course. If you want to learn or you want to be notified when that comes out so that you can like really accelerate your growth on YouTube, make sure that you click on where it says YouTube course and put in your email so you can be notified when that course goes live to the public. So now we are going to get into the question and answer portion of the stream here, so that I can answer your question specifically. And I'm going to be honest, like this is my favorite part of live streams, because this helps me cater the information that I'm talking about directly to you, which is awesome. Because then I know I'm like, okay, hey, if I'm answering this question for somebody, that person is like directly getting value from, you know, this particular thing. So, so this very first question is from Semihaz. I apologize if I'm saying that correctly. Familia, and they say, what is the best length for a video? So the best length for a video is going to come down to how long does it take you to get through the actual video, the actual content that you're wanting to share. So it's not that there is like an ideal length for a YouTube video. Like you see some channels where they'll have a 1 minute video, like Lucas the Spider. It's always the one that I lean on for this example, but they have like they have 1 minute videos on their YouTube channel. I think the longest one might be like 1 minute and 10 seconds, and they crush. They've got like a nice handful of videos and they've got millions of subscribers. They've even gotten a TV deal out of it. So there isn't like a best length per se, but some things that you want to think about when you're considering your video length is you don't want to just fill your video full of like filler space for the sake of making it a longer video because you're thinking, hey, I'll get more watch time if I make longer videos. That's not the case, because if you can't keep people watching for that extended period of time, then you're going to end up putting in all this extra time on all this back end of the video for that extra, you know, if you make 5-minute videos and you extend them to 10 just so that you can get more watch time and you have 5 minutes of fluff in there, then what you're going to do is you're still going to have people falling off, you know, around the 5-minute mark, or, you know, however long you can keep people watching for. And you're going to spend all that time making this extra content that nobody or a very few people are going to be able to enjoy. Okay. So because of that, if you do make longer videos, make sure that everything that you do in your videos, that there's intention behind it, that you know, hey, if I'm putting this in my video and, you know, I have it happening in my video for 5 seconds or 10 seconds or 15 seconds, would my video be just as good without this? If so, I'm going to take it out. And the reason I'm going to take it out is because it's not adding anything to the actual video, anything to the viewer experience, anything to the story. So because of that, I'm not going to have it in there just for the sake of having it in there. Now, on the flip side of this, if you can put together content that is longer content to where, like, let's say that, you know, people do watch the video for a long period of time because, you know, you're engaging on camera, or your animations are awesome, or your gameplay is awesome, or the tips that you're sharing with your game is awesome. And people are like, yeah, this is great. I'm watching for a long part of this video or a majority of this video. Then the win in that situation, when you do make longer videos, is they give you the opportunity to make more money if you're in the YouTube partner program. So one of the things that you don't get to do if you are making videos under 10 minutes is you don't get to put ads in the video if you choose to, and you don't get to put an ad at the end of the video. But if you are making videos that are 10 minutes long, you can have an ad at the beginning, you can have ads in the middle somewhere if you choose to do that. I don't personally, but you can have ads in the middle, and you can also have a ad at the end as well, which will help you increase your ad revenue. So because of that, you know, an ideal video length in that situation, we're trying to generate income, as long as you can keep people watching, as long as you're adding value for that 10 minutes, then, you know, 10 minutes and 1 second, or 11 minutes, whatever would be what that would be if you're trying to generate more income and you can keep people watching and keep a good experience for your viewers. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to the amount of time, or not the amount of time, but how long you should make your videos, this is another one of those places where, like I was talking about before, paying attention to your audience retention reports, this is where you're going to be able to identify, hey, how long should I make my videos for? Are people watching for 50% of my video? Are they watching for 60%, 70%? Are they watching for 10% and then they're leaving? Like, what's going on, right? Like, how much watch time am I getting per viewer when they're coming into this video? Does it make sense for me to make a 10 or 15 or 20-minute video if I can only get people through like 3 minutes of my video or 5 minutes of my video, right? So because of that, it's really important to take those factors in mind as well and use your stats, right? Use the data that you get from YouTube to be able to apply that information to the length of your videos based on how good you are at being able to keep people watching for an extended period of time. Next question that we have. Take a quick coffee drink here. Next question that we have on our list is from the Happy Kid Show. Says, are Google ads worth investing in for my niche? I'm a kid's YouTube channel and I don't think kids are hitting the subscribe or like button. So, and she dropped a Nimminati hashtag in there. That's what I'm talking about. So when it comes to ads, a lot of people will look at YouTube ads because they'll think like, hey, if I use YouTube ads, then I can just pay money and then YouTube will put my videos in front of people, which is true. However, the downside of that is that in order for that to be effective in any way, shape, or form, one, you need to make sure that you're targeting the right people, which in your case is going to be difficult because you're making kids content. Two, you also, unless you're putting your videos right in front of, you're only using the skippable ads and you're putting your videos literally right in front of the other kids' videos, that would be an approach. But the thing that you need to make sure that you're doing is that people are responding to your videos already. So if you can't get an organic response, right? You can't get people to respond on YouTube to your content in terms of your click-through rate and your audience retention organically, then having ads isn't going to be a huge benefit. Sure, having ads will bring you more views without question. Running ads will bring you more subscribers without question, as long as they're getting value out of what it is that you're doing. But the downside is if you are not getting content that can get legs organically, then the downside with running ads is as soon as you turn off your ads, the channel's going to tank. Right? So because of that, you have to make sure that you're able to get that activity organically and then run ads on what it is that you're doing. Now, when it comes to making sure that you're getting that you can get organic activity on your videos, one thing that you just have to make sure of above everything else is that like your audience retention is fair in that situation, because with ads, the click through isn't really that big of a deal if you're just running skippable video ads. But the actual amount of time people spend on your videos is. So because of that, you need to make sure that you're able to hold their attention in your video and that those people that are actually coming into the channel, that they deem your content as good content. If you are running ads, if you already have, if you're already getting some organic activity, you need to make sure that those people can deem your content as good content, because when they do get suggested your videos elsewhere after you turn your ads off, or when they are not when they're not just when you turn your ads off, then you need to make sure that you can still get them to click to come into the other videos as well. So even though they are enjoying the video in terms of the audience retention, it's like, yeah, people are digging this, you also need to make sure that you're able to get people to click so that when you turn your ads off, that all those people that subscribed and that came in and viewed your videos because you ran ads, that they're still also going to click on your videos when you turn the ads off. Because if not, what you're doing in that situation is you're spending a bunch of money to get a surge in activity on your channel. And then as soon as you shut it off, it's down and you're going to be like, oh man, I just wasted a bunch of money, right? So because of that, it's really important to make sure that the content is solid. At the end of the day, your content in terms of, how you package it up on the outside with your thumbnail and title and your ability to keep people watching, that's going to dictate everything that happens to your YouTube channel on YouTube. So like if you were to take out everything else, your ability to get people to click on your thumbnail and title because it makes sense to them in terms of the reason that they should click, and they watch your video for a fair amount of time, like those two things by themselves are arguably, those are the most important things, because if you can do those successfully over and over and over again, then your channel's going to move forward. But that's a difficult thing to do, and that's why a lot of people struggle. Okay, next question that we have here is from Chance's D&D Spellbook. Says, what are your thoughts on making separate channels for different subjects? I think it's a fantastic idea. And the reason I think it's a fantastic idea is because, like I mentioned before, you want to make sure that when you are putting content out there, that the video that you're publishing today is going to be a good fit for the people that subscribed to your last video, and that the video that you plan on publishing tomorrow is also going to be a good fit for the people that came in from your new video that you published today. And I'm just saying today and tomorrow and yesterday as like a reference, but that could be last week, this week, the next week, that sort of thing. But absolutely. So one thing to consider in that situation is when somebody's first getting started on YouTube or they're very first starting to get that momentum, they're not that busy yet. Right. So they have their like life that they're doing, then they have their life, their social life, their job, that sort of thing. And then they have their YouTube channel. And because of that, it's like, hey, I've got this spare time, sure, I'll open 8 different channels and talk about 8 different things all the time. But the downside is when those channels do start doing well and they do start getting activity, then the maintenance that comes with that and the obligations that come with that in terms of just making sure that you're constantly uploading, the comments and handling all of that, the people that are going to be reaching out to you to try to work with you or just talk to you or collaborate with you or whatever it happens to be, you're gonna have to manage that for all the different channels. And, and depending on you and how you schedule things and what your priorities are, that might end up being a lot to deal with, or it might not. You might handle it fine, but it's just something that you also need to make sure that you're considering when it comes to, running a bunch of channels or even more than one. Next up is from Namadel, says, how does categorizing my video affect its searchability? Sometimes my video category, news, travel, news, is different than my actual channel, travel. I don't know which to choose, travel or news. If it's news content, put it as news. If it's travel content, put it as travel content, but YouTube is smart enough to know what it is. So what you're doing there is you are basically giving YouTube like a starter, like, hey, this is what the video is about, or this is, where this should be categorized. But YouTube is also going to make its own assumptions on where your content should be categorized based on the people that respond to it. It's going to do that. So of course there might be some like ad revenue differences between, what you select as well. Same with tags, but at the end of the day, that's only going to be for a temporary time. And then YouTube is going to end up, their artificial intelligence is going to end up making sure that your video is in the right place, that it's getting in front of the right viewers, it has the right ads running at it and all of that stuff. So all you're doing in that situation is you're just kind of giving it like a head start. Next up, we've got Relax Music Words. Says, 2 of my videos ranked on 2nd and 3rd of YouTube search, but I can't seem to get views. What do you think I'm doing wrong? So just because a video ranks in search doesn't mean that you're going to get views from that term. That's why it's so important to make sure that you're using like the Keyword Explorer from TubeBuddy to make sure that you are picking the right opportunities. Because for example, if you rank for a term that is so not competitive that nobody's even looking for it, it's not going to do any good, right? So if there's 100 people looking for it over the course of the month, and then you're competing with 10 other videos on page load, not even mentioning the ones that you get on scroll, then in that situation, the people that are coming in to that search result, those 100 people, are right out of the gate getting divided by at least 10. Some of them, they might all go into your video if your thumbnail and title is really good, but you also have those other people that are taking some of that traffic as well. And because of that, you need to make sure that you're going for things that are competitive enough, but not too competitive so that you can still get, a fair amount of traffic. Another thing that's important as well is make sure that you look, when you see your videos ranked in search, make sure that you look in incognito mode, maybe even open a new browser where you don't have a YouTube account or you're signed out of that YouTube account. Like if you're always using Google Chrome, open up Firefox, install Firefox or Internet Explorer or Safari, open them up. Don't be signed into a YouTube account there, and then go and look for whatever it is that you are ranking for and see if you still rank there, because YouTube caters some of that to us as well. So because of that, you need to make sure that you are looking at like what's actually happening instead of the things that are catered to you. Okay. When it comes to the videos that are ranking in search. Next up on the list is, and Andrew Can says, if you're ranking in search, check impressions and see if you are earning that. Your thumbnail might not be getting the clicks that you thought and earning you views, or the click-throughs to watching and earning you views. So yeah, so thanks for that, Andrew. Yeah, so also make sure you're looking at the impressions. That'll also help you know. Impressions under your traffic sources for search specifically, not just impressions in general. You want to actually go into your YouTube analytics for that video, go to the traffic sources report in your analytics for that video and look at search and see how many impressions you're getting from search. That'll let you know how many people are actually, that's how many people will actually let you know, or that's how many people are actually getting shown that video in search. Had trouble getting that one out. Okay, so next up we've got DAB Poetry. Dab Poetry and Quoted says, why is it that if I don't put tags, YouTube shows my content to 180, but if I put tags, I barely get 30 impressions. You could be using the wrong tags maybe, but at the end of the day, tags, the importance of tags have been massively reduced. Apparently they still matter, but they just don't matter as much. And because of that, you might not want to put tons of emphasis on the tags. And if you find on your channel with your specific type of content, if you find, hey, when I don't use tags, my videos perform better for some reason, then by all means, don't use tags. But let me tell you this, most likely it's not your tags. If you dig into your YouTube stats, you're going to find out that you're thinking that it's your tags because coincidentally the videos that you didn't put tags in, they ended up doing better. But what you're actually going to find out if you go and look is you're going to find out that the click-through rate on those are higher, or that the amount of people that are watching are higher, or that you're just getting more impressions in general because the click-through rate and the amount of watch time that you're generating per impression is higher. You're getting more activity in terms of engagement on one, like that sort of thing. So because of that, don't always just look at it like, I use tags, I didn't use tags, and that's why. Dig into your stats. It's what your analytics are there for. That's why I said earlier in this in this stream about making sure that you're using stats at least at the very basic level. The reason that's so important is things like this, because you can look at it and you can say, that's why I think that this has happened. Now let me dig into the stats and see if the stats is going to show me something different, right? So that you're challenging yourself constantly within your stats so that you can actually use data to figure out what's going on. Next up, Tiffany Chanel says, thank you, TubeBuddy and Nick, for this. Our pleasure. I'll go ahead and speak on behalf of TubeBuddy. Our pleasure. Says, I have 3 niches on being fit, which stands to finances, inside body, and thoughts. Do you think that will confuse the algorithm? I have 3 niches on being fit, finances, inside body. Hold on. I have 3 niches on being fit, which stands for finances, inside body, and thoughts. Got it. Okay, finances, inside body, thoughts. So basically your niche is more like self-development is what it seems like. It's not necessarily 3 niches. It seems like you're doing self-development. So if you're doing self-development, one thing that you want to think about is okay, if I'm doing finances and I'm doing inside body, which I'm not sure what that means, but if you're doing inside body and you're doing just thoughts, then your thoughts might actually end up being just more of like a like talking head, kind of like a vloggy type of video, not like an out in the world vlog, but just kind of like a, like I'm in my bedroom or in my office or in my living room, whatever, talking to the camera type of vlog. So in that situation, format wise, it might come out a little bit different. But what I would recommend that you do is look and see which one of those. And this kind of goes back to that niche thing that I was talking about, just paying attention to what's happening on your channel and why it's so important, is because like in this situation, you might look and say, yeah, I have this fit thing. It's clever, right? And finances, inside body, and thoughts. It's clever, but you might dig into your content and see that, hey, people are only responding to the finance content, or they're responding to the finance and the thoughts, but they're not responding to the inside body content. So because of that, I should double down on those and maybe even lose the other 2, right? So don't get super attached to the things that you come up with for your channel. Don't get super attached to the subgenres that you come up for your channel that are, within that, personal development thing in your particular case. So what you want to do in that situation is you want to look at everything on your YouTube channel. And this is going to sound just completely nuts, but hang with me here. So what you want to do in this situation is look at your channel, like I said before, see what's performing well and lose the other stuff. And the reason for that is because getting attached to the content that you're putting out on YouTube can drive your channel. It can be a huge mistake that you're making that can drive your channel down or keep your channel down, versus your channel being able to take off because you say, you know what, I'm not going to get attached to any of this stuff. I'm going to make the content that I enjoy, that I'm passionate about. I'm going to talk about the overall subject of personal development that I care about, but I'm not going to get attached to these specific pillars of content that I'm putting out. And at a moment's notice, if I notice in my stats that people are not responding to one over the other, I'm more than willing to double down on one and just let the other one go. Right? Super important to have that within yourself to be able to do that, because the more attached you get to it, the more likely you are to hold down your channel, because you're just attached to, I have to make this type of content because it fits into my theme of fit. Right? As an example. So what I would do is I would just look in your stats, see how people are responding to the different content in terms of your click-through rate, in terms of your audience retention as well. Because let's say, for example, people are identifying that it's your content and they're coming in, even though they subscribe for finances, they're coming into your thoughts videos because they remember watching your finance video and they come into your thoughts video. Maybe they clicked on it, but you'll be able to see how they actually responded to that video, right? So just start paying attention to what's going on when you're uploading the different pillars of content so that you can make sure that it's a good fit for the people that you're trying to reach. Next question. Next thing we've got is question. It's not a thing. Next question we have is from Alicia PM. It says, what do you think about sub for sub? Thanks. I think that is one of the worst things that you can possibly do to grow your YouTube channel. And the reason for that, like I mentioned before, is that you are putting your content in front of the wrong people. It's better to have lower views and lower subscriber numbers at the beginning so that you can get big views and big subscribe numbers later down the road. So it's better to kind of suffer through that difficult part so that you can win instead of crippling yourself at that beginning part by doing sub for sub and sharing your content in the wrong places, that sort of thing. Without question, you do not want to participate in sub for sub. You do not want to share your content in a place that is not going to put you in front of the right people that are a good fit for your content. Because if you do either of those things, you're working against yourself and you'll actually end up hurting your YouTube channel that you're going to have to figure out how to recover from instead of starting your channel out doing the typical situation of that most YouTubers go through of content, right? As the channel grows, you just keep putting out videos, paying attention to what's going on, making adjustments as you go. And then you find those things that start to lift up the channel, right? That's why it's so important to make sure that you're putting out content on a regular basis and that you're looking in your stats on a regular basis so that you can make sure that you are paying attention to what's going on in your channel and you're publishing a lot, which will also give you a lot of information to work with compared to, just publishing every now and then or publishing, every other week or monthly or once a week as an example. And like Andrew says, sub for sub is also against YouTube terms of service as well. And because of that, you also need to make sure that you are not participating, because it can cause you to lose your channel. If they notice that in comments, like if you were to go into this chat right now and you start talking about that, or if you were to go to any video on YouTube and you start putting those comments, all it takes is a few reports from different content creators and you can be toast for that. You'll see a lot of people on the internet where they're complaining, hey, YouTube took my channel down for no reason. Well, in a lot of cases, it wasn't no reason. It's because you were doing activity that you didn't know was against the YouTube terms of service. And because of that, your channel got taken down. And it wasn't for no reason. It was because you were in the wrong and you didn't actually read through the terms of service, which as a content creator, you're uploading videos to the platform. Read through the terms of service because it can be the life or death of your channel if you don't. So I just want to say thank you to TubeBuddy for having me on. Again, I appreciate it. Rob, Andrew, for hanging out in the stream today. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for letting me take over the channel here for an hour today. I also want to thank everybody that hung out in the chat today as well. If you don't have TubeBuddy yet, make sure you go to tubebuddy.com/install. Get it installed. You're a YouTube content creator. You need TubeBuddy. It's going to help you with what it is that you're doing with your YouTube channel, all aspects of it. If you're not upgraded yet, make sure that as soon as you can, you upgrade so that you can test your thumbnails, so that you can use the SEO studio, that kind of stuff, so that you can really give yourself an edge here on YouTube. Also, make sure that you head over to nicknimmin.com and look at the very top of the page, and you're going to see the YouTube course there. Make sure that you put your email in there so that you can be notified as soon as that course goes live, because it's coming really soon. So thank you so much for hanging out. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something in today's stream, and I will see you next time. Oh, hey, and real quick, Dr. Sten, if you're still here, I made a video for you in the members only Facebook group, just as a heads up if you're still here.